This Health Ranger Report Pandemic Podcast is brought to you by NaturalNews.com for uncensored reporting and HealthRangerStore.com for lab-tested preparedness supplies such as storable food, full-face medical masks, biostructured silver first aid gel, and iodine, only while supplies last. April 10th, update for pandemic.news. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger here, and today I'm warning that the food riots will begin in May if the lockdowns are not ended. The American people are running out of food, money, and patience. It's very clear now that if Trump does not reopen the economy in early May, hopefully May 1st, that we're going to be looking at a national uprising. And there are already very strong signs that FEMA is preparing for a national uprising and that Trump is preparing for martial law, a crackdown of the people who are engaged in the uprising, which may be a combination of Antifa marching side by side with pro-Second Amendment patriots, because everybody's being hurt. Now, as you know, I was a strong advocate of the early lockdowns in order to halt the spread of the virus, and the lockdowns worked, and that's why we are seeing now a drop in hospitalizations in places like New York City. And we will begin to see very soon a downward trend in the number of daily deaths in the United States. That would not have happened without the lockdowns. So I do want to counter a lot of disinformation out there from mathematically and scientifically illiterate people who say, well, gosh, the deaths falling is proof that the lockdowns were not needed. That's like saying, if your house didn't burn down because the fire department showed up and extinguished the fire, then therefore you didn't need the fire department because the house didn't burn. So that makes no sense. The lockdowns did their job. They did halt the spread of the virus. However, we now have enough knowledge to end the lockdowns. And that's been my position here for a couple of weeks. We can end the lockdowns. We know how to do it while protecting public health. And the answer is very simple. It's masks, that is mandatory masks in public and at workplaces. Public transportation as well. It is the president advocating zinc and vitamin D and vitamin C, all of which help enhance health and we know can be very useful. And also the president making hydroxychloroquine plus zinc widely available to doctors all across the country who can treat patients who are in serious and critical conditions with that combination that's proving to be incredibly useful with an over 90% cure rate, according to media reports that I've seen so far. On top of that, it would be a great idea to encourage all businesses to sanitize common surfaces at least once a day, probably more like twice a day. Those would be doorknobs and elevator buttons and handrails and, just common areas, even on public transportation, armrests for, buses, things like that. On top of that, we might say that people over the age of 60 should strongly consider staying home and remaining in self-isolation as they seem to be more vulnerable to this. But with those steps in place, I believe that we can now end the lockdowns and get America back to work, restore our liberties, and basically get our country back on track. You should note that there is no effort being made by anybody in any position of authority to promote nutrition. And so they're not even making that part of their equation. All they're deciding is, should we end the lockdowns or not? Should we wait for a vaccine or not? They don't even understand that zinc and vitamin C and vitamin D and so on can be part of this equation. So, and the reason for that is because, of course, the White House, President Trump, the media, etc., they're all run by Big Pharma. And Big Pharma doesn't want zinc to be the hero here. They want the vaccine to be the hero. And they want America to remain under lockdown for a year and a half or whatever it takes in order for the vaccine to be rolled out so they can push for a nationwide vaccine mandate, and then they can claim the vaccine cured the virus and saved America, and they can jail anybody who is opposed to, the vaccine and so on and so forth. So we're going to end up under a Big Pharma medical police state if we don't get the truth out there about nutritional protection, zinc, the things I mentioned. And that's why it's so important to talk about this right now and to demand that the president advocate good nutrition. That's how we end the lockdowns. That's how we get America back to work. And frankly, that's how Trump saves his presidency. Because right now, based on what we're seeing, I think that Trump's chances of being reelected are only about 1 in 4. And they may drop even more. Doesn't look good for Trump, especially if the lockdowns continue. And even before we get to the elections, we're going to have food riots all across America. So let me talk about that first. Number one, as an interesting side point, at least Antifa knows how to wear masks. The pro-Trump, pro-liberty community thinks that wearing a mask is surrendering to the globalists, which is why they are going to continue to spread the virus. No, wearing a mask is, this is how we defeat the globalists, by defeating the virus, by preventing the spread. So wearing a mask should be a symbol of liberty. This is how we protect our liberties and end the lockdowns and, get everybody back to work. By wearing masks, because it does stop transmission by stopping people from spraying viruses into the air as they talk, okay? But I would imagine that if the lockdowns don't end, we're going to have a very popular uprising involving people on both the left and the right, and business owners as well as employees. I mean, nobody wants to stay under lockdown any longer. Businesses are going bankrupt by the day. People are losing their jobs by the day. And people are running out of money. Now, part of that is the fact that Americans don't save any money, which is a major problem. And it just shows something about the priorities of the American culture. Everybody's spending every last dime. Everybody's leveraged to the hilt. Everybody's got debts and loans. And they're living at large without having backup funds for a rainy day. So that's part of the problem here. And these government bailout checks aren't going to last very long for a lot of people. Although I'm sure they'll be extended all the way to election day, by the way, to make sure that Trump has a chance of being reelected. Basically just buying votes, just sending out money, helicopter money for everybody here, vote for me. That's insane. That's like something that we would think that Bernie Sanders would do, but no, Donald J. Trump is doing that. So socialism is already won, no matter who you vote for, by the way. But even with the paychecks, that's not going to be enough because people are running out of food. I don't know if you've noticed this, but a lot of food shelves are empty at grocery stores and the food supply lines are cratering. Some farmers, because they usually sell to the restaurant industry, their food is rotting in the field, and milk producers are pouring milk down the drains, while other people aren't able to get the food they need because the supply lines are all messed up. And the reason for that is because too many people eat at restaurants all the time, every day. I mean, people should make more of their own food, and then the grocery stores would have better bandwidth for providing food in times of need, by the way. I know people that all they do is eat out, and that's not healthy. You're not going to find organic, non-GMO restaurant meals out there, except in certain, places in LA or New York City and so on. But most restaurants are not healthy, clean food, not by a long shot. So a lot of people eat out. Now that the restaurants are shut down, supply lines are all messed up. People are going to be running out of food very soon because of this problem. And also, given the extreme social distancing measures that are enforced when people go out and try to shop for food, it's hard to shop for food. You got to stand in line. You got to wait your turn. You got to stand, 6 feet away from the other person. And I've seen stories and pictures of Walmarts where people are being corralled with these like police crime tape lines or something, with loudspeakers blaring, monitor your social distancing. It's like a dystopian sci-fi movie or something. And you can only go to certain aisles. You can't buy garden seeds. You can't buy home and garden products of any kind. You can't buy anything except what they tell you to buy. And now the government's telling stores what they can sell. So this is a communist economy now. It's already here. And the bread lines and the food lines are having unbelievable wait times and responses from the public. Thousands of families lining up in their cars to collect food when food banks announce, a giveaway. So this is going to get much worse. The food lines are going to get longer. The food supplies are going to get smaller. And food prices, because of the government bailouts, are going to go sky high to the point where you might be paying, $5 for a loaf of bread soon. And maybe next year, $10. Who knows? It just depends on how much bailout money they keep printing. Now it's trillions of dollars, and it looks like it's going to be more trillions At some point, the dollars that they're using to bail you out no longer purchase anything because they're worthless. So, yeah, they'll send you money, it just won't buy anything. That's where this is going. Every nation, they say, is 9 meals away from anarchy. And what that means is, people can't eat for 3 days, they take to the streets. We're getting very close to that moment in the United States. That's why I predicted that in May, the food riots will begin if the lockdowns are not ended. Now, Trump is saying that he hopes to end the lockdowns at the end of April, so a little more than a couple weeks away. But then White House advisors are telling him, if you do that, there's going to be a resurgence of infections, and you'll have hundreds of thousands of Americans dead before the end of the year. But the reason they're saying that is because they haven't modeled in Trump recommending zinc and vitamin D and some of the other things like wearing masks in public. If you factor those things in, then you can end the lockdowns and you can get the R0 value below 1.0, which means the virus begins to fade away. In other words, the infections are not self-sustaining at that point. But nobody in the White House, not even President Trump, is talking about that for all the reasons I just mentioned. And so the answer from Washington, D.C. has been stimulus, which basically just means helicopter money, right? Buy up the corporate bonds, buy up all the debt, buy up all the mortgages, send money to everybody, right? This is total insanity. And this is going to end in a dollar collapse, by the way. Maybe not this year, but not that far away. The dollar is going to collapse. People are going to lose everything. Then you're going to have riots like you've never seen. That's coming because people are getting ripped off right now. There's no such thing as free money. You know that when they print money, it comes out of your pocket because you lose purchasing power for the dollars you have. They're diluting the money supply. They're stealing from the people while telling you that they're bailing you out. They're bailing you out with your own pocketbook. That's what's happening. You're being looted and then given a paycheck in the hopes that you'll stay home and shut up and not riot. And for a while that might work, but not that much longer. You can't have an economy that runs on tens of millions of unemployed people staying at home collecting government paychecks. That's called a universal basic income. It does not work. It doesn't work because people aren't working. People aren't running the factories. People aren't running the restaurants. People aren't working. There is no economy. You can't just keep issuing paychecks and dropping money from helicopters. So the amount of time that the American people are going to put up with this is very limited. And I believe we're approaching the end of that window. And I think FEMA is preparing for that. I think FEMA is going to have mass arrests. They're going to round people up and throw them in camps, FEMA camps. That's what they're going to do because they know the uprisings are coming, because they know that Big Pharma and the White House is going to try to keep people locked down for as long as possible. And maybe they'll let you out for a month and then they'll say, well, the infections are coming back, and they'll lock you down again in July or August or whatever it is. So even if they give you a little bit of freedom, they're going to lock you back down again because they won't recommend zinc and other things that stop the infections. You are now living as a Big Pharma slave in a system run by the drug cartels, and they will make you suffer, and they will make you die, and they will loot your bank accounts in order to keep you locked down so they can inject you like cattle with a mandatory vaccine. And if you try to stage an uprising, they will arrest you, they will throw you in a FEMA camp, or they will shoot you. This is where we are now. And I'm not calling for violence, or I'm not calling for uprisings. This is just an analysis that they're coming. And probably in certain areas, we're going to see citizens shooting it out with whoever's trying to stop them. I would imagine that's going to happen. Not calling for it, just saying I can see that coming. Personally, I'm not going to participate in any of these riots. I'm going to be at home on my ranch, raising more chickens. I'm going to be, doing research and writing and podcasts like this. For me, my life hasn't changed that much at all. I still live on a ranch. I still take walks with the donkeys and the goats. It's pretty much the same thing I always do. I don't go out to restaurants that much anyway. And I don't have much of a social life anyway by choice, kind of a waste of time. But for the average American, their life has been just catastrophically collapsed. And their patience for that is rapidly running out. So don't be surprised to start seeing uprisings in May if people are required to stay under these lockdowns. And by the way, if the lockdowns are ended and we don't promote zinc and vitamin D and vitamin C, then those experts are correct. There will be more outbreaks. It will happen. And then they will lock you down again. And the winter wave of this could be just horrific when it comes back with a vengeance, maybe October timeframe or November, something like that. It's going to be much more aggressive probably. So stay informed and get ready. You need to have a food supply. You need to have a means of self-defense. You need to be ready for an extended period of social chaos and police state lockdowns, food supply disruptions, and an economic collapse combined with a fiat currency collapse. If you're not ready for all those scenarios, you're not ready for what's coming. I'm trying to get people ready as best I can, so I appreciate all your support. I'm really working hard to try to get people good information, even when there's a lot of bad information out there, people who say the virus is fake and so on. I'm trying to get people good information. The virus is real. It does kill people. It does infect people, but we know how to beat it now. So we can end the lockdowns if we do so in a sensible, informed manner. That's my point. Thank you for your support. Keep reading my website at pandemic.news or naturalnews.com. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger. Take care. When it comes to prepping, you not only need good products that can help keep you alive, awake, aware, and nourished during difficult times, you also need products you can trust. At the Health Ranger store, we do extensive laboratory testing using an in-house lab that's ISO accredited. It's inspected, it's audited. It's a 2-year process to even get that accreditation. We use multiple mass spec instruments, state-of-the-art science. I'm a published science author as well and a patent holder on several technologies, some of which we use variations of in our lab. The purpose of this lab is to help you make sure you get clean foods, superfoods, storable foods for emergency preparedness and survival use. We have a certified organic lab-tested, what's called Ranger Bucket collection of storable foods with some survival gear in the buckets to help you even boil water and cook those foods and so on. It's a fantastic product. We can barely keep it in stock even during normal times. In a crisis, we'll be wiped out of this product because it actually takes us a lot of time to make those products. But if they're in stock, you can get them now at healthrangerstore.com/prepwithmike. In fact, go to that URL, healthrangerstore.com/prepwithmike, and you'll see some of our survival and preparedness supplies, including iodine, colloidal silver products and gel first aid products, storable foods, superfoods, medicinal herbs for first aid, and much more. We have a lot of products for you to help you be self-reliant, to be safe, to survive difficult circumstances, natural disasters, and all kinds of things. If you want to get prepared, do it with us at the Health Ranger store so that you know you're getting safe, clean, laboratory-verified preparedness foods, supplements, and other related products. Again, the URL is healthrangerstore.com/prepwithmike. All one word, no spaces. Prep with Mike. I'm Mike Adams. Thank you for your support. Thank you for watching. If you want to support our mission, visit us at healthrangerstore.com for the world's largest selection of lab-verified superfood and nutritional products for healthy living. It's at healthrangerstore.com.